Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Rocket Chiro Podcast, a business and marketing podcast for chiropractors. And welcome back to our series for new chiropractors and struggling chiropractors, talking about different concepts that are important for your chiropractic practice to lay a good foundation for you to have a successful practice in the future. Today's topic is a fun one for me. I really enjoy this conversation a lot because I think it's a really helpful concept. And the concept is pre-suasion. And you may hear me, you may think, did you mean persuasion? Do we need to be more persuasive? And I think that a lot of people within like the marketing world and business world, and we're trying to close and sell and whatever, the conversations around being more persuasive is a very real thing, but that's not really what I'm talking about. This came from a book that I read. It's somewhere around here. I don't even remember who wrote it. But it was just talking about the process that people go through to make decisions and how if that process is done right, decisions are easy. And if it is done wrong, decisions are more difficult. So we'll sort of unpack this a little bit and just talk about what are some of the things that matter in the element of persuasion for chiropractors. And I think it'll be really helpful. I think it's really good to have this in the back of your mind and start understanding this as you're setting up different things, as you're deciding how your practice is going to go, your patient education is going to go, your new patients, your report of findings, your whatever it is that you're doing in your practice. I think that this really does have an influence. If you want someone to make a decision, a certain decision, this is something you have to take into consideration. Now, before I get into that, I do want to say if you want some additional help, check out my Next Step program at rocketchiro.com. If you want a better chiropractic website, go to check out the Rocket Chiropractic website. You'll be glad that you did. All right, so persuasion. I think the easiest way to think about this is to think about the decision-making process on a scale like 1 to 10. 1 meaning the person is not going to make the decision you want them to make, not even close, and 10 being they're all in. Now, at some point between 1 and 10, a person becomes more of a yes than a no, but the idea is the more that they can kind of be walked through that process of 1, which would be the skeptic, to 10 being like a raving fan and all in, the more you can walk them through that process, the easier the ask is. And I've talked about this with networking where I said, hey, too much too soon. Like it's a big problem that extroverts do where it's basically like, hey, we're going to be best friends. It's like, whoa, dude, I just met you. Like, calm down. That's sort of an example of that where you're trying to do too much. And another very simple example would be, let's say referrals. There are chiropractors out there that will teach like, hey, you're just supposed to ask someone like, hey, who do you know? Like, who do you know that could use chiropractic care? Like that sort of thing. If the first time someone has heard you talk about referrals is during a regular visit, they're trying to talk to you about what's going on with them and you stop them and you're like, who do you know that could benefit from chiropractic care? And that's the first time they've heard that. You haven't done a good job of setting the table. You haven't done a good job of creating an environment where that conversation is accepted and that the person does what you want them to do. You have not done any persuasion. You have not primed the pump. And so what we need to consider when you're in your practice and you're thinking to yourself, what do I want this person to do? Do I want them to schedule an appointment? This is something I talk about when I talk about chiropractic websites. And I think I'm one of the few people that actually give a crap about this particular issue, but that is the layout of a website, the simplicity, the direction, the flow of the website, going from non-patient to patient. There's a thought process. There's sort of a persuasion thought process of, I'm not going to make scheduling an appointment difficult. I'm not going to make scheduling an appointment, which is the thing I want them to do on the website. I'm not going to make it a big ask. I'm going to make it as easy as possible so that the thing I want them to do is the logical choice. This is true for new patients as well. If you're the type of person who has been told or coached or whatever into, like, before you can become a patient of mine, you got to go through a 3-day report of findings, and you got to go to a new patient class, which is mandatory for you and your staff. You got to prepay for the entire year. Otherwise, you just don't get it. Like, some will, some won't. So what? Next, please. Now, if you want to run your practice that way, that's perfectly fine. You want to die on that hill, perfectly fine. For normal people, I would like to make the argument that you're asking too much of people. You're making it too complicated. It's too big of an ask. Now, maybe that's the thing. You're going to die on that hill. And your Pre-Suasion is scaring the crap out of that person so they feel like they have no choice but to do exactly what you're told. Yeah, that's technically what we're talking about. Now, I would not encourage you to lie and use scare tactics and manipulate people to get them to do what you want them to do. I don't think that's a good idea. But whether it's a decision I agree with or a decision I don't agree with, the principle is the same. If you're asking someone to make a big jump from skeptic to yes, your close rate for that particular thing, it's not going to be very good. If you prime the pump, lower the bar, make it easy, get some momentum heading in the direction you want to go, you get a lot of yeses because the yes makes sense. So what are the things that matter? Couple things. Environment matters. Reputation matters. When I talked about authority in one of the podcasts before in this series, one of the reasons it's a cheat code is because when you have authority, when you're a celebrity, when someone's like, that chiropractor is awesome because of XYZ or whatever, or they know this person, or that's the Cardinals chiropractor, or that's this celebrity's chiropractor, the mayor goes there, whatever. That person has a radio show. That person's been on Oprah. That person knows Dr. Phil, whatever. Whatever the thing is that makes you a big deal, if that authority pushes someone way down the process, they are much more likely to start care. They are much more likely to say yes. They're much more likely to do anything you ask them to do because they are so far down the line of being like a raving fan because of your authority. That's why it's a cheat code. Authority sort of persuades everyone. It would be very unusual for someone not to follow the doctor's recommendation. When that doctor says, hey, would you leave me a review? Yeah, love to. Would you... do you have anybody you would refer? Who do you know that could benefit from chiropractic care? Oh, I tell everyone. I'm already telling everybody because my doctor's amazing. He's a celebrity. So authority is like a Pre-Suasion secret. Now, I'm not saying that that's like available to everyone because it's not. But if you want to understand authority a little bit better and you understand Pre-Suasion, you go, that's why. They're showing up ready to say yes. So on that note, your reputation matters. This is a lower level. But if you have the reputation of getting good results, one of the things one of my patients said about me, I didn't say this. One of my patients said about me was they were like, hey, you're sort of, they said something along the lines of, if you can't get better anywhere else, go to Dr. Jerry. That was their impression of the reputation that I had. Like, oh, nobody else can fix you. Go to Dr. Jerry. Now that might be one person that thinks that, but in that person's brain, I had a really good reputation of doing good work. And I would say we did do good work. It was really unusual that we found out, hey, this is someone we think we can help. It was really unusual that I wasn't able to help them. It did happen sometimes. I'm not, let's not make it something that it's not. But for the most part, I was really good with my hands and I got really good results with my patients. As a result of that, people that were referred from other people who had had a really good experience in my practice, they showed up. This is why referrals are so much easier than someone that just wandered in off the street. You wonder why when you say to yourself, like, why is a referral a better patient? Is it because they're just people that are referred are naturally better than people that are not? No. They have been persuaded. They showed up They're not at a 1. The person that wandered in off the street, they don't know you. This is why when someone finds you on Google, when I help chiropractors with their websites and they start getting some exposure on SEO and they start getting more contacts through their website for new patient appointments, and sometimes they'll tell me like they're frustrated because they're like, oh, we especially people that still use email. I don't recommend, by the way, I don't recommend using email to schedule appointments. If someone can call, preferably text or online schedule, like that seems to work the best. But some chiropractors have been around for a long time. They still do email, whatever. And they'll be like, hey, we got 5 emails. And then we tried to reach out to these people. Couldn't get a hold of them. When we finally got a hold of them, they had already scheduled with somebody else. I'll be like, yeah. You know why? Because those people found you doing a Google search. They didn't know ahead of time they wanted to go to you. They weren't referred. They weren't convinced that you're the best. You just showed up highest in Google. And they have there's no setup. You know what I mean? Like there's no commitment. They don't give you a long leash. Now, how are they different than a person who's been referred? A person who's been referred has that transfer of trust. They're not at a 1 or 2. They're at a 4 or 5 or 6, depending on how much someone has raved about you. If they've seen their personal family member get a massive amount of change from the care that you provide, they're showing up at a 7 or 8. They're super convinced that you're the one that's going to help them. They would not go to anyone else, no matter what. How much it costs, in network, out of network, doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters. You're the person, because they've been persuaded that you're the right choice. So reputation matters. You got to be excellent at what you do. This is why relationships, this is all coming together. There's a lot of overlap in these podcasts because those relationships matter, because if you have bad relationships with people, you're undermining the persuasion. Now, I'd also say environment matters. This is something I tell people all the time, that I think people undervalue the importance of it. Things are normal when you make them normal. So if you feel it's awkward to ask people for reviews, you haven't made it normal. You haven't created an environment in your office where reviews are normal. Same thing with referrals. The first time you ask somebody for a referral, they look at you and they kind of feel like, oh, doc's just trying to make some more money off of me, or whatever someone might think. You haven't primed the pump to get referrals. You haven't made referrals normal. This is true for chiropractors who are videotaping their patients. You know, when you first start videotaping your patients, I did some video testimonials toward the end of my time in practice. I started doing YouTube stuff and some other stuff when I was in practice. And I started doing video testimonials, and it was super awkward for me. Like, I get so uncomfortable so easy with situations because of just being an introvert, and it's my level of tolerance is really low. Like, I have to take baby steps into everything. Otherwise I'm uncomfortable. That probably makes me lesser of a human being. Like, I don't know, but I was super uncomfortable. But I knew from my experience that if I'm uncomfortable and I make everybody else uncomfortable, it's going to be worse. And so I had to sort of get over myself and present it in a way and ask in a way that seemed like this is very normal. And once it became normal, like I did this several times, it was just something that was like, it really wasn't a big deal. My technique was a super weird thing. Like, I did a lot of knee, chest, upper cervical. And in knee, chest, upper cervical, it's like, I'm going to ask you to get on your knees and bend over, and I'm going to punch you in the side of the head. Like, that's sort of what it is. And I totally understand why that would be awkward and weird for a lot of people. But that was normal in my practice, and I had a way of presenting. I was perfectly comfortable with it. I had a way of presenting it in a way that sort of diffused the awkwardness of it. But if I was awkward about it, and I was being secretive about it or weird about it or whatever, like, I'm making it worse. So the environment matters. If you want people to leave you a review, create an environment where reviews are very normal. If you want someone to do video on Instagram, make that normal. If you want someone to do a video testimonial or refer someone to you, make those things normal. And if you're asking and asking and asking and asking, and you keep getting shot down and it's not working and it's not working and it's not working, Maybe what you're doing is wrong. Maybe the whole thing just needs to be scrapped. Or maybe it just needs to be tweaked. And maybe you just need to set the table a little bit better. Maybe you just need to be a little bit better at pre-suasion. Prime the pump. Make it easy for people. Make it natural for people to do the thing that you want them to do. All right, guys, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for listening to this series. If you want more help, check out Next Step. If you want a better website, check out the Rocket Chiropractic websites. I will talk to you on the next episode. See ya.